Hello, thank you guys so much for coming to this video today. I really appreciate it. Today I'm going to be telling a story. There's been some tension in the community for the past week. We're all waiting for Vasil. When is Vasil coming? And that's what we're going to be answering in this video. We're going to be going into reports from developers as far as how is the Vasil testing going? When is Vasil coming? And we're also going to be looking at some tension that was between the SPO community and also Charles Hoskinson, the CEO of IOG, which is the developers on Cardano. So it's going to be a great video. Please stay till the end. If you do, we're going to have a giveaway at the end of this video as well. So stay till the end for that information. I hope you guys enjoy it. And if you do like the video, comment down below, hit subscribe, turn that notification bell on, because this is going to be a story of the tension, between the SPO community and Charles. And we're also going to be looking at the value that was derived from this. And secondly, we're going to be talking about when Vasil. What is going on with Vasil? I hope you guys enjoy the video. Let's jump right into it. Before we go into the tension in the community between the SPOs and developers and Charles Hoskin himself, we're going to be looking at what is Vasil. And I know you guys probably already know this, so I'm going to be brief with it. Vasil is the largest upgrade that has ever come to Cardano. In Vasil, there's reference scripts, reference inputs, inline datums, the core interpreter, collateral outputs. So what does all of this mean? Reference scripts are very important because what it's actually going to do is decrease the total transaction size and allow more data to be put into a block, because the transactions only have to reference a script and not actually include it in the transaction itself. So this is going to allow more throughput on Cardano and also allow your transaction fees to be a bit cheaper. A large percentage of these updates that are coming to Cardano with the Vasil hard fork came directly from CIPs, from the community, from developers in Cardano, realizing that Cardano is missing a couple things, and there are certain updates that we need to build the best protocol for the future. And a lot of these updates, as I mentioned, come directly from CIPs, also the Cardano DeFi Alliance. So I'm really excited for this upgrade, because when it comes directly from developers, to me, that means it's going to lead to a lot of projects launching, because they're saying, hey, this Vasil, we need to include these things so I can launch my protocol. So that's what Vasil is. I'll have a link down below for a bigger guide on all of the things that are coming to Vasil, but it really is a good thing for Cardano, and I expect more projects to launch after the upgrade. However, as I mentioned earlier, there has been some tension among community members. So now that we know what Vasil is, we're going to go into that tension. And then following that, we're going to be giving the Vasil update. What's going on with Vasil? When is it coming? So on Cardano, if you use any transactions or use Cardano at all, you are interacting with a software called Cardano Node. Cardano Node is what the SPOs run to run the network. It's the infrastructure for the network. And when new hard forks come, the SPOs have to upgrade to the new version for the hard fork to be able to happen. And we saw a tweet from Charles that was actually deleted now. Unfortunately, I don't have the screen cap of it, but he was telling all Stakepool operators to go ahead and upgrade to the new node version 1.35.3. And he immediately took it down, I want to say like 20 minutes later, after Andrew Westberg responded and said, do not upgrade to 1.35.3 on mainnet yet. IOHK Charles is not on the same page as his DevOps team and test themes. So then why is he saying that? He's saying what you need to do is run 1.35 on the preview network, run either 1.34 or 1.34.1 or 1.35.3 on the pre-pod network, wait until the hard fork successfully, and then we verify there are no issues. Then we can upgrade mainnet. So this response was a very big deal for a lot of people. You have Charles on one side saying, go ahead, all SPOs on mainnet, upgrade their nodes. And then on the other hand, you have Andrew Westberg, who's a prominent SPO. He's also the developer of Firehose, which is what Eternal runs on. He works with drip drops. He's been a very useful member of the Cardano community for a long time. He works with Blue Cheese Steakhouse's Stakepool. As I mentioned, he works with drip drops. He also runs a YouTube channel called Nerd Out. Very useful. I would check it out. It's definitely some nerdy content. It meets the name, but I learn a lot from it. So I recommend checking that out. We are going to play some clips from it later in this video about his response to all of this. But, from my experience as a Stakepool operator, sometimes when you upgrade to new node versions, you will lose blocks for your delegates. So we are very slow to upgrade to new node versions, letting other people test it out, testing it out ourselves on the relays and also on the test nets to ensure that we lose no blocks for our delegates. So I can see exactly where he's coming from here is, hey, we need to actually test this before we release this and we upgrade all of mainnet. And Charles is in the wrong here. So following Andrew's post, we have a response from Charles on Twitter. And this is right after he deleted that original tweet that we didn't get to see. And he said, let's try this again. If you're an SPO, Stakepool operator, then please start the upgrade path. 1.35.3 is heavily tested, and it's more likely than not going to be the version for the hard fork combinator. So here's what you do. You run through preview, you go to the devnet, and then you go to pre-production, and then you go to mainnet. And this is the testing process for Stakepool operators. We have a response here from Andrew, thank you. And then he says, thank you for enforcing clarity. I should be more careful with these tweets. So, Charles sees, hey, I was wrong there. I realize that people do need to test. But look at the ambiguity here, right? It's more than likely not going to be the version for the hard fork combinator. So, as an SPO, should I upgrade my nodes and put my delegates at risk in case there are bugs and, we'll lose blocks and then in turn lose rewards? Or should we do testing first? And clearly here, we need to run through the preview, then DevNet, then pre-production, then mainnet. So it's very, Charles states it here, this still needs tested, although it has been heavily tested. So then we've got another tweet the following day from Adam Dean. Adam Dean is a Cardano savage. He's minted more NFTs on Cardano than most people. He's the creator of BuffyBot. He's working with CNFTCon. He's one of the co-founders of it. Adam Dean has done a lot for the community, works with Drip Drops as well. Very, very awesome guy. Love him. I've worked with him in the past. And here's his response. And this is actually what led to the tension in the community. He said, it's important to point out today that the Cardano testnet is catastrophically broken due to a bug in Cardano node version 1.35.2. Let's keep in mind that this is not 1.35.3 that Charles was mentioning earlier. And there were actually a couple bugs that were found in the testnet that caused, the tension to rise without that clarity being there because they were confused about what bugs they were both talking about. And we're going to go more into that in just a second. This was the version that we had previously been told was the tested and ready version for the Vasil hard fork. This bug was only discovered because operators rushed to upgrade on mainnet and it was creating incompatible forks and causing a decrease to chain density. What is chain density? Normally chain density usually sits at about 5%. So causing a decrease in that is going to cause, less blocks to be minted. So kudos to @AdaStakepool, that's Martin, love him, and this is Mike, from Pool Tool for doing the research of the on-chain data to identify 1.35.2 versus 1.34.1 as the culprit. However, the testnet's still broken due to the majority of operators having upgraded to 1.35.2 on the testnet to simulate the Vasil hard fork event there. 1.35.3 is now incompatible and incapable of syncing the chain. Legacy installations are still on one fork or another. We are now testing 1.35.3 on two new testnets that do not have a block history like the other testnet. And block history is important, or a simulation of a multi-node version blocks on the chain. To say that this level of rushing gives me uneasy feelings is an understatement. If there were a nuclear clock for Cardano, we're perilously close to hitting midnight. I'm calling on Charles and IOG Engineering to deploy the tooling necessary to disaster recovery the testnet as described here. Issuing a correction here after having a conversation with Samuel Leathers, he works with IOG, who, if you know, is like the testnet guru of IOG. I can confirm that. The testnet is currently invalid due to feature change between 3.5.2 and 3.5.3 because it already gone through the fork. It's incompatible with the current testnet. Pi from SundaySwap also comes in and says, proof of stake has a rollback horizon that this has already been passed, so there is no possibility here of a rollback. And again, we're going to be getting into the actual Vasil update. Some more testing has happened. We have new information about Vasil that you're going to like. So while there's tension here and while this seems negative, we're going to get to the silver lining soon. So stay with me. So this is when the tension begins. And as we saw in the tweet earlier, Adam states that it is catastrophically broken, and he is a developer in the community. So then here's a tweet from Charles, and this is on the next day, and he says, "I hope everyone is happy with the headlines," and then quotes Crypto Brief. Again, none of this was necessary. Cardano testnet is catastrophically broken from an ecosystem dev, and they're referring to Adam Dean. And that's the issue with saying things like on Twitter. I'm going to go into both sides, and I kind of sit in the middle on this. I do understand where both sides are coming from. I'm going to give my thoughts later. However, you have to think about the damage that happens from these headlines, especially the short-term damage. I think in the long term, it doesn't matter, and all of this is going to play out. However, long term, there still may be some damages. I speak to people now that still think Cardano is a ghost chain. I speak to people now that think that you can't do multiple swaps in one block, 8 months later. So these headlines really do have an impact on people's narrative and psyche relative to certain cryptocurrencies, right? So it is important that these articles come out and that they're not spread around everywhere and that people don't get the wrong message, because the fix that we're going to be talking about later, how many headlines are going to write about that? A lot of people want Cardano to be broken. They want it to not succeed. So they're going to click on headlines that say catastrophically broken, and then they're never going to review any updated information that comes later, because that was the big headline. That's what everybody read. And that narrative stays around for good. Hopefully not for good, but at least for a little while. So I'm going to play a short clip from Charles here. And this is his response, to the articles being posted, to Adam Dean, and there are more responses coming later, but this is one of his first responses live on an AMA. And he essentially says that there are leaders in the community and that they don't have full autonomy or full freedom of speech anymore, and that the things that you say can create friction within the community, friction between members, friction between outlets, friction with people that don't understand the technical nuances, friction with people that don't understand that catastrophes happen, bugs happen. This is why it happened on the testnet in the first place. It was testing. So when people read these headlines, small time investors, your grandma, whoever, they're going to think things are much worse than they actually are. And, I would consider myself, I'm not going to say I'm a leader in the community, but I have a large platform that does have impact on things, and the things that I say do matter. And I will partially agree with him here and state that, the way I say things and the way I do things has completely changed in the past year because of the impact that I have on certain things. It's not a large impact, but, I have been more careful about being negative towards certain projects, and I've been more careful with what I say to ensure that, not that there's backlash for me, but backlash for Cardano, and also that things aren't misrepresented. So I definitely see partially where he's coming from here, but I'm curious on your thoughts down below. Do you think that, leaders in this community should have full autonomy and full freedom of speech? Or do you agree with Charles here? Do you think that community members should use the proper channels, like dev channels, like GitHub, like Discord and Telegram, to ensure that this doesn't break out to the wider public? Let's go right into that clip.
Grow up and get over it. People can have opinions, and this is not a problem that's in my hands. At IO, we write software and we do things and we work with people, and the sun gets up tomorrow. We still do what we do, and we wake up and, still work hard. Nothing is materially changed. I think it was mostly just disappointment on my side, because people need to understand that the words they say, the things they do, carry weight and consequences. It's very easy at this point in my career just to be hands off and stay out of the engine room and just kind of go and play with Bison. Really is. But that doesn't serve any interest to the community, and it doesn't serve any interest from a pedagogical sense about what needs to be done. At the end of the day, there are a lot of leaders now, and those leaders have to acknowledge and understand that they no longer have full autonomy and full freedom of speech and full discourse and dialogue like they used to enjoy, like I used to enjoy. They're under scrutiny, and the things they say and do are ultimately going to be judged by people in and out of the community. And you have to really think, well, why do processes exist? Why do guardrails exist? Why do we have checks and balances? It's kind of funny. It's like all this FUD came out about how IO was unilaterally in control of the network, and then we're like, well, you need 75% of the SPOs to upgrade before anything gets done. So it's like, we're not in charge here, guys. You are. And that'll be formalized more through the SIP process, but that's how it's always been. And that's where we're at right now as a network.
Here's a tweet from Dan from Crypto Capital Venture. And he probably saw, Adam Dean's tweet saying it was catastrophic. And like many of us, he doesn't have the most technical mind when it comes to crypto. And he states, I would love for anyone technical on Cardano to come on my channel for a few minutes to discuss what's happening with Vasil. So he must have saw Adam Dean's tweet, and then Hosky replies and says, let's get Andrew Westberg, who we brought up earlier, and Adam Dean on the podcast. So let's just jump to a couple clips from that podcast so you can see what it was about.
Let's start with yesterday, a tweet from Andrew. He retweeted Charles, which it's not on the screen right now, but it says, do not upgrade to 1.353 on mainnet yet. So Andrew, can you just real quick, just some context to why you tweeted that and what the kind of real-time situation was there?
Yeah, so day after day after day, we had been told by the IOG devs, don't upgrade to this version on mainnet. It's not ready for mainnet yet. And so the tweet from Charles kind of came out of left field for me, and it was encouraging Stakepool operatives to upgrade on mainnet, even though there had been no community testing. So they had spun up 2 new test networks for Vasil. Neither of those had yet gone through the hard fork with the latest node version that he was suggesting we upgrade to. The only testing that happened at this point when he made that tweet was internally at IOG. And this came right after we had several releases from IOG that they had said were probably the final version that we were going to go through the hard fork with. And it was community members that kept finding these, as Adam called it, catastrophic bugs, which is why we had a 0.0, which they said that was probably the final release. And then we had a 0.1 and a 0.2. We found a final catastrophic bug in that release. And then now we had the 0.3. And the community had not gotten a chance to test yet at this point. And so it was... I felt like the community was completely left out of the testing process, even though we're a very big part and partner to IOG. I think we're critical to the testing of Cardano. And it just seemed like all our concerns were kind of brushed aside.
So here's another tweet from Dan, and he states in this tweet, and Charles responds to this, and this is kind of the peak point of the tension, I think. I'm receiving comments and just now an email about how much harm I have done to Cardano because I interviewed 2 Stakepool operators on my channel. If this is informational and educational interview did actually harm Cardano, then it is destined to fail. So here's a response from Charles. Great engagement farming and playing the victim. Thanks for all the fish. We got another one from Rick here. Charles, you've been blasting Cardano's most passionate community members for having an open dialogue and voicing their genuine concerns. Rick, this is completely unfair. You know exactly what I'm talking about. There are direct lines of communication with SPOs about testing and upgrades and special channels for them. My issue is with clickbait YouTube videos and interviews, not the conversation. Charles, none of this is an attack on you. The storm has passed and let it blow over. The thumbnail and title of the video are a little bit eye-catchy, but that's how YouTube works. The content of the video was good. It was honest and informative. This is the end result. And he posts another tabloid from, an article, Times Tabloids. And, this is where we're at with this one, So, that's Charles's response to Dan there. I don't really think that, Dan was engagement farming or playing the victim. However, everyone is entitled to their own beliefs. So now let's go into Charles's response here. He states that now that I've had some time to reflect on the last 48 hours, I'd like to say a few things. First, the backbone of Cardano as a useful protocol is the SBO community. It's been a rough road for everyone over the last few years, given that the infrastructure, needs, and experiences haven't been as good as they need to be. I wanted partial delegation, conclave, pub/sub. So partial delegation, is being able to delegate to multiple pools. Much better documentation and support channels for years, and have pushed for everyone to their limits to move in that direction, including investing tens of millions of dollars in developers. Second, with the billions of dollars of hacks in this industry, on-chain governance and secure smart contracts is hard. I can agree with that. We've all been working overtime to try to balance our user experience with security and fast delivery. Cardano has a lot of wonderful projects, but it's a tough model. There are a lot of CIPs in process that roll out more inclusive structures that would create formal checks and balances and better rollout of updates. The community has always been a part of that rollout. And, I'd have to agree with them there because, for us to hard fork, 75% of Stakepool operators have to be on the new node version to hard fork. So it really is SBOs having that choice there. I'm personally deeply frustrated that we don't have a members-based organization to represent the needs and desires of the community. I would have done things dramatically different with my current knowledge and if I've gotten a do-over, It's being fixed now, but that takes time. I'm sure many of us would, right? I'm also deeply frustrated that we have a fragmented approach to the ecosystem and development and no accountability structures outside of Catalyst to force more rapid and sustainable adoption. Again, this is being addressed, but it's time consuming. The realities of something this large and complex is one that can be easily trapped by the things that aren't working well and forget the things that are. I can agree with that as well. We are a huge community that is diverse and brilliant across the world. There are tons of great projects and passion. And look at Adam Dean, I can tell you, he is very passionate about this. Same thing with Andrew Westberg, same thing with Dan. There are brilliant and passionate people in this community. I'd like to see the community reach its full potential and for its capabilities to be deployed towards making the world better. When I see things that go against that, it makes me sad and angry. How we communicate is just as important as what we do. Over the last 3 days, I could have personally chosen a different approach. I regret that I didn't, and I'm sorry. Ultimately, the people who have known me know exactly where I'm coming from. I hate seeing these and have personal experience in the damage they cause. And here he is putting a bunch of thumbnails on screen. We got Dan's right here from the video that we just showed. Cardano testnet. How bad is it? I don't personally think that's bad. I really don't. How bad is it? If you go watch the video, you realize that it's not. This one's worse, the BitBoy one. Cardano failure discovered. Cardano testnet catastrophe. Catastrophically broken. Not mainnet. Paul at least put the not mainnet here, so I think he's all right too. I think that's Kaizen's down there. Cardano testnet broken. I fortunately didn't make one of these videos, so I wasn't included. Haha, right? But I've had some clickbaity thumbnails in the past. I'm not the best at this, but I have personal experience in this. And what I must say is the same way that you write a news article and you write a headline that makes people click, and then you give them valuable, useful information, it's the same thing with a YouTube video. We are all fighting for clicks here. If you do not get clicked on, then your channel goes down. It's that simple. So he has to understand the incentive that we all have to get clicks. And oftentimes I've made clickbaity titles and clickbaity thumbnails not at the cost of anyone else, not suggesting price increases or price losses. I've made thumbnails that are clickbaity to bring people into the valuable content that I make that I, in my opinion, am adding value to the ecosystem with the knowledge that I'm giving, with my experience. And because I don't focus on price, because I don't focus on negative things, I usually think the clickbaity thumbnails and titles are good all around because it brings more people into valuable Cardano content. Like voting, for example. I did get paid in ADA for voting, stuff like that. You have to do this in this career. So I really sit in the middle here, I don't think Dan's was damaging. I could see how BitBoys is starting to be that line, but making clickbaity titles is okay as long as it's not damaging to the protocol, damaging to other people, or damaging to your viewers, right? Suggesting price increases or decreases, etc., etc. So I kind of sit in the middle here. I see both sides. And we'll continue reading Charles's tweet here. Let me go ahead and full screen that for you guys. That doesn't change the fact that you're all members of a family and choose to be here. I feel like I've let you down for that, and I'm sorry. Vasil is the last hard fork of an era, and many things are changing for it. New government processes, more inclusive structures, more useful code, faster development, more parallel efforts, and eventually Cardano realizing the promise and potential of its community towards giving the world economic identity. Damn, there's some bars right there. I think we all want this and are all on the same side. Local events like these are teachable, moments that give us a chance to change and grow. Let's get Vasil done together, and let's move on to a higher ground and fix some of the original sins of the project so Cardano can grow to its next level. I'm not going anywhere. It's still my greatest passion. I see how what we've built can change the lives of billions of people, and I've met them. It can help them. I don't think anyone in our community feels different. I just think that we've grown to need to work differently and more collaboratively. There will be an extensive post-mortem of Vasil, where we are at, and lots of great changes coming through CIPs and new organizations that represent all different factions. IOG is a voice in this beautiful chaos. This is another tweet from Dan. After recent events, one thing is clear: Cardano is stronger than ever, and I've never seen so many people bullish on ADA as I do right now, and I'm going to have to agree with that completely. This, while there was tension and while there was negativity derived from it, I think overall this was good for the ecosystem, and it shows where Cardano is at. And we are on the path to full decentralization and a full autonomous governance system that governs this decentralized blockchain. And the fact that people are willing to stand up against Charles, they're willing to give their input, and they're willing to provide clarity and change things for the better shows you how good of a place we are in and the exponential direction that we have towards the future. So we're now on to the silver lining part of the video, and this is from the Ancient Kraken. He actually works for Drip Drops. He's a smart contractor developer on Cardano. Smart contractor. I think I properly reproduced the bug that was in 1.35.2 that caused issues for the testnet on the SPO dev net going on right now. As of now, it doesn't seem like 1.34.1 and 1.35.3 behave as expected in terms of smart contract usage. Everything is looking good. Now, nodes that run 1.34.1 and 1.35.3 will not include the incorrect TX in the chain if a bad node 1.352 submits it. The 1.352 actually ends up just holding the TX in their local mempool, and all of the other nodes just pass it. Submitting this TX on a good node fails as expected. The problem seems to be triggered by the 1.35.2 and now allowing the node to build raw to produce a valid TX with very low fees. The difference was almost 150,000 Lovelaces from my test script. Lovelaces are a piece of an ADA. There's a million Lovelaces in every ADA. Glad it seems to be fixed, and we tested if it was actually fixed. There's a lot more testing to be done, at least with the weird fee bug. And then we got another response from Andrew here. The fix in 1.35.3 is successful and confirmed by many other SPOs that help test. Looking good for the Vasil hard fork. So we've got a high percentage of SPOs have already upgraded. I'm going to put that pie chart on screen right here. And, this is good. So, what good came from this? What was the silver lining? I think the good that came from this was one, the interaction with Charles and, realizing how competent our devs and SPOs are in this community. And also, I think Charles's response at the very end was pretty good as well. I didn't agree with everything that he said, but that's life, man. We all disagree on a lot of different things. And think about how many testers came to support this now. If you're just a normal SPO and you don't have time, but you're worried about Cardano having a bug or it being catastrophic, I personally think a large amount of SPOs showed up to test this, to ensure that there were no bugs because of the media attention, because of what Adam Dean said. And I think this is going to actually start a larger group of testers moving forward. So all in all, I think this was a good thing, with some negativity, of course. However, this video has been running for a very long time. I actually do want to get to one more tweet here. Sebastian Guillemot, co-founder of DC Spark. I think he's the CTO over there. He's the CTO and co-founder of DC Spark. We have a hush-hush culture that even hinting at some test network issues leads to a multi-day panic. Meanwhile, in Ethereum, devs can just honestly talk about their software. So he retweets a dev talking about broken software from Ethereum. That's not to say Peter hasn't received some flack over this. However, he's been vocal for years, but I have a lot of respect for him as a developer for being very honest and open about project progress. So then we got another response from Charles, another hot take. We don't have a hush-hush culture. Since you continue to kick up dust for no apparent reason, I'll remind everyone that we have open issues on GitHub, the CIP process, direct communication channels on Discord. I guess you just want everything to be on Twitter. Got another one. Charles, buddy, relax. The entire debate, which some people continue to ignore, is about the channels we communicate in. My point is to keep off Twitter, Reddit, and Telegram. It serves no purpose and just causes harm. The push to keep these discussions off Twitter and other platforms is what I'm referring to. I strongly disagree with this, the purpose this serves, but it's clear that we do disagree, and that's okay. I've been reading a lot of tweets. You're free to have them anywhere you like, Seba. It's an open ecosystem. I'm just providing my opinion, being in the space for almost a decade, about the need for high quality channels. Social media is a mob rule and doesn't embrace facts, depth, or empathy. That's a pretty good point. You know, I'm in the middle here. You know, I don't think that we shouldn't push all of this to Twitter. I also think that eventually, you know, we're getting to that point where this ecosystem is so large that no matter what, it's going to end up on Twitter. And I think that matters in the short-term price impact, you know, maybe the short to medium term narrative impact. But I think if Cardano is the best damn blockchain there is, I think all of this is going to play out in the long term. And you know, I think things do need to come to Twitter, but I also agree with Charles here, and social media is a mob rule. And maybe the mob is going to rule in the wrong direction because they have a lack of depth, facts, or empathy. So that's the video for today. Sorry it was a little long, but this was a very important story for our community, and I wanted to kind of sum it up all in one video. I'm sure I missed some stuff, but make sure you comment that down below. What do you think? What are your thoughts? What are your opinions? Did I miss anything? I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And if you made it till the end and you want to enter the giveaway, what you have to do is join the Discord server down below and then comment pie in the comment section down there. Once you join the Discord server, you're going to have to fill out the CAPTCHA and then react with the confetti symbol in the giveaway tab. We're going to be giving away some ADA today. It takes me a little bit to get on the giveaways, but I always get to them. So please don't get mad if I delay. I'm giving you free money. You know, I'm sorry that I've got a lot going on and I have a list of things to do. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you like, subscribe, notification bell, all the algorithm stuff. Share it with your friends. This is a pretty unique and interesting story, and I'm happy to be here with you guys. So thank you. Have a good day. Love you guys. Bye.